What if an entire region of the United States got permanently banned from hosting golf's biggest events? Not one course, not one city, an entire region. That is exactly what one of golf's most respected analysts is now openly demanding. And after what the world witnessed at the 2026 United States Open Championship, the golf world is split right down the middle. If you are a golf fan who wants to stay on top of every major controversy, every big call, and every story that is shaking the sport right now, subscribe to this channel. Drop a comment below telling us where you stand on this debate, and hit that like button so this story reaches every golf fan who needs to hear it. Let's start with what actually happened at Shinnecock Hills Golf Club in Southampton, New York, during the final round of the 2026 United States Open Championship. Because the events of that Sunday afternoon are the reason this entire debate exists. Wyndham Clark, a 32-year-old professional golfer from Colorado, entered the final round with a commanding 6-shot lead. He had been the best player in the field for 4 straight days. He was playing some of the most consistent golf of his career. By every measure, he was the man to beat. But from the very first hole of that final round, it became clear that the crowd at Shinnecock Hills had a very different idea about how Sunday was going to feel. Fans cheered his mistakes. They groaned when he escaped trouble. They jeered his approach shots and celebrated when his ball found rough or sand. On the 4th hole, a young spectator yelled at him not to choke and was immediately walked off the property by security. Several spectators were removed from the course by officials after directing abusive comments at Wyndham Clark throughout the day, a fact that was later confirmed by the United States Golf Association. The USGA even issued a mid-tournament apology through NBC as the situation escalated inside the ropes. Meanwhile, the loudest cheers of the afternoon were reserved for Scottie Scheffler, the world's #1 ranked player, who is chasing a career Grand Slam on his 30th birthday. Fans sang him happy birthday on the first tee. Every one of his great shots was met with a roar that shook the grandstands. The contrast between how the two players were treated by the crowd could not have been more dramatic. Wyndham Clark held on. He never surrendered the lead. He finished with a final round 3 over par 73 and claimed his 2nd United States Open Championship title. But when he finally spoke to the media, his words told the real story of what that Sunday felt like from inside the ropes. "They definitely didn't want me to win," Clark said. "It's pretty rare in a major to have fans kind of boo against your shots or cheer for bad shots." Now, to understand why the crowd treated Wyndham Clark the way it did, you have to understand the reputation he built for himself in the 12 months leading up to this tournament, because it did not come from nowhere. In May 2025, at the PGA Championship held at Quail Hollow Club in Charlotte, North Carolina, Wyndham Clark threw his driver after a poor tee shot on the 16th hole. The club struck a sponsor sign and knocked it to the ground just a few feet from a flag attendant. He apologized publicly, but fans had seen a temper and they did not forget it. 1 month later, at the 2025 United States Open Championship at Oakmont Country Club in Plum, Pennsylvania, Wyndham Clark missed the cut by a single stroke and then took his frustration out on the locker room. He kicked in 2 of the club's 121-year-old lockers. Oakmont Country Club banned him from the property. To earn reinstatement, he was required to pay for the damage, make a charitable contribution, and complete an anger management program. He apologized again, publicly, and repeatedly. Then, at the RBC Canadian Open just 1 week before the 2026 United States Open, Wyndham Clark wore a Team USA hockey jersey during a round in Toronto. A deliberate provocation in a country that had just lost to the United States in hockey. Hecklers yelled, "Canada hates you," at him throughout the round. Wyndham Clark himself acknowledged that the hostility at Shinnecock Hills did not arrive without reason. "Some of it's self-deserved," he said. "I did some unfortunate things last year that I really regret, and I've said sorry multiple times, and I'm still sorry." He also understood the crowd's love for Scottie Scheffler, saying that Scheffler chasing the career Grand Slam gave fans every reason to root loudly for his playing partner. But here is where the story takes a turn that goes far beyond Wyndham Clark's personal reputation. Because Golf Channel analyst Eamon Lynch watched everything that happened on Sunday and came to a very different conclusion about what the real problem was. On Monday morning, Eamon Lynch went on air and delivered one of the most direct and controversial statements a golf analyst has made in recent memory. He did not focus on Wyndham Clark's past behavior. He did not talk about crowd energy or major championship atmosphere. He went straight at the location itself. Long Island golf fans are a stain on the game of golf, Lynch said during his segment on Golf Channel. He did not stop there. Lynch argued that the PGA of America should completely reconsider its plan to return to Bethpage Black in 2033 for the PGA Championship, an event that is already scheduled and officially announced. His position was unambiguous. The PGA of America is supposed to go back to Bethpage in 2033 with the PGA Championship. That should not happen. These people do not deserve a major championship. Lynch went further, describing what he believes is the type of fan now attending these events on Long Island. He pointed to individuals who, in his words, treat sporting events without any respect for tradition or the players competing in them. In one of his most discussed remarks, he said the problem comes from what he described as drunk crypto bros who buy a ticket with daddy's credit card and who have gone through life without ever being stopped for something they've said. His proposed solution was equally bold. Lynch called on the PGA Tour and PGA of America to adopt what he described as the Augusta National model. No phones, zero tolerance for disruptive behavior, and no second chances for anyone who violates the standards expected at a professional golf event. And if Long Island cannot meet that standard, then in Lynch's view, the majors should simply stop going there. What makes Lynch's argument so significant is that he is not pointing to a single bad day at a single tournament. He is pointing to a documented pattern of behavior that stretches back across multiple events and multiple years at venues on Long Island. The most serious example came at the 2025 Ryder Cup, held at Bethpage Black in Farmingdale, New York, in September 2025. That event was supposed to be a celebration of one of golf's greatest team competitions on home soil. Instead, it became one of the most discussed examples of fan misconduct in the sport's modern history. Rory McIlroy, one of the greatest golfers in the world and a member of the winning European team, was heckled mid-backswing throughout the competition. He was forced to step away from shots on multiple occasions as noise from the crowd interrupted his pre-shot routine. His teammate Shane Lowry had to be physically restrained by his caddy after a spectator directed comments at him before McIlroy hit a drive on Saturday. And in one of the most widely circulated incidents of the entire event, a beer appeared to be thrown in the direction of McIlroy and his wife Erica Stoll while they were walking on the course, striking her. The PGA of America responded by deploying New York State troopers, ejecting multiple spectators, and pushing more frequent crowd etiquette messages on the large screens around the course. The MC at the event resigned following vulgar chants from sections of the crowd. The response was real, but for many observers, it was not enough, and it came too late. Rory McIlroy addressed the situation directly after Europe secured their 1-5, 1-3 victory. "I don't think we should ever accept that in golf," he said. "I think golf should be held to a higher standard than what was seen out there this week." Two-time United States Ryder Cup captain Tom Watson went even further. He posted publicly to social media, "I'd like to apologize for the rude and mean-spirited behavior from our American crowd at Bethpage. As a former player, captain, and as an American, I am ashamed of what happened." Golf reporter Brendan Porath, speaking on Golf Channel following the Ryder Cup, said plainly that Bethpage Black seems incapable of hosting a big-time event with any sort of civility. He called the behavior toxic and beyond the pale, and said it was not acceptable for any sport, let alone golf. Eamon Lynch himself had been raising this issue since the Ryder Cup, noting that the behavior at Bethpage Black did not surprise him because it happens every event at Bethpage. It's happened at the PGA. It's happened at 2 United States Opens. His central argument is that this is not a New York City problem in general. As he specifically noted, it doesn't happen at Winged Foot, doesn't happen at Baltusrol on the other side of the Hudson River. It happens on Long Island every single time. Not everyone agrees with Eamon Lynch, and the pushback against his position has been just as strong as the support for it. Critics of Lynch's argument point out that passionate, loud, and emotionally invested crowds are a fundamental part of what makes major championships memorable. New York sports culture has always been more expressive, more vocal, and more intense than most other markets in the country, and many fans see that energy as an asset, not a liability. Defenders of the crowds also note that the Ryder Cup format is specifically designed to generate the kind of team loyalty and partisan atmosphere that produces louder behavior than a standard stroke play event. Perhaps most importantly, the overwhelming majority of the tens of thousands of fans who attended both events on Long Island behaved entirely within the expected boundaries. The incidents that drew national attention involved a small number of individuals, not the entire crowd. Holding an entire region responsible for the actions of a vocal minority is, in the view of many, both unfair and counterproductive. Even Wyndham Clark himself stopped short of blaming the region. He acknowledged his own role in creating the environment that surrounded him at Shinnecock Hills, and spoke about how he managed the hostility mentally. Anytime someone said something negative to me, I replaced it with something positive, he said. He even found humor in the situation, making jokes with his caddy Dave Markle whenever they spotted a fan who appeared to be supporting him. James Colgan, a writer at golf.com who grew up on Long Island and has covered both major events there in the past year, captured the tension in the debate better than almost anyone. Writing after the 2026 United States Open, he said, "As a Long Islander who is proud of his golfing heritage and the people who protect it, I'm galled by those suggestions. As a journalist who has witnessed both major Long Island golf events of the last 10 months, I can't say I disagree with them. But the most important question this entire controversy raises is not really about Long Island at all. It is about what is happening to sports fandom in a world shaped by social media, algorithm-driven outrage, and a culture that increasingly rewards the loudest voice in any room." Colgan argued in his piece that what happened at Shinnecock Hills reflects something much deeper than geography. He described the crowd behavior not as cheering, but as dunking, the language of internet culture translated into a live sporting event. The players inside the ropes were not being treated as human beings, competing at the highest level of their sport. They were being treated as characters in an online narrative, targets in a comment section that had somehow spilled out into the real world. Lynch's description of the drunk crypto bros comment speaks to a related but distinct phenomenon: the arrival of a new kind of sports spectator who is wealthy enough to attend premium events, disconnected enough from golf's traditions to ignore them entirely, and confident enough in their social immunity to say things in public that would have drawn immediate social consequences in an earlier era. Golf is uniquely vulnerable to this shift because, unlike almost every other major professional sport, silence is not just a courtesy at a golf tournament. It is a competitive necessity. A shout at the wrong moment can genuinely affect the outcome of a shot. The sport's entire culture of respect around the playing of each hole is built on a foundation that these new crowd behaviors directly threaten. Which brings everything back to the question of what actually happens next. And specifically, what happens to the 2033 PGA Championship at Bethpage Black. As of now, the PGA of America has made no official statement addressing the calls to move the event. Bethpage Black remains on the schedule. But inside the sport, this conversation is happening at every level. Brendan Porath summarized the situation accurately when he said, "I do think they should consider it. I don't think they will actually make the maneuver to move it away." With 7 years still remaining before that championship is played, there is time for the PGA of America to implement meaningful changes. Stricter ticketing controls, enhanced security protocols, a zero-tolerance ejection policy, and possibly the kind of phone restrictions that Augusta National has used for years to maintain the atmosphere at the Masters. Whether those changes would be enough to satisfy critics like Lynch remains an open question. What is no longer an open question is whether this conversation is serious. When a respected analyst calls publicly for a venue to be stripped of a major championship, when a two-time Ryder Cup captain apologizes on behalf of his country's fans, when the sitting world number one's playing partner is heckled out of the final round of a United States Open, this has moved well past media debate and into genuine policy territory. Wyndham Clark won. He lifted the trophy. He stood on the 18th green at Shinnecock Hills and completed one of the most impressive turnarounds in recent professional golf history. But the story that followed him off that course is one the sport is going to be dealing with for a long time. Now it is your turn. Do you think Long Island should be banned from hosting future major championships? Was Eamon Lynch right to say what he said, or did he go too far? And is this really a Long Island problem, or is it a reflection of something changing in sports fandom everywhere? Drop your answer in the comments right now. And if you want to stay on top of every major story in professional golf, subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update.